Hey guys, how are you? It's Mr. Kurdziel. Just as a quick review, so yesterday you were talking, or you were doing a lesson with Mr. Popko, where he was discussing fractions, denominators, or the same denominator. And there was a couple of strategies that you could have gone through. One of them could have been just simply drawing a model of both of them, as we have here in front of us. And we can see that in 3/4, we have three of the four parts shaded, and in 1/4, we see one part that is shaded. And here we can clearly see through our model that 3/4 is greater than 1/4. The other strategy you may have used is if the denominators are the same, you can almost ignore them and then just compare the numbers on top, the 3 and the 1. And we know 3 is greater than 1. So that's a review from yesterday. Today, we're going to talk about fractions with the same numerator. And when we do that, we have to remember our vocabulary, right? The numerator is the parts of the fraction being counted, and the denominator is the total amount of parts in one whole. So let's look at a model here that we have of 3/4 and 3/6. We can see the numerator is exactly the same, but the denominators are different. Now, both of the models are essentially the same size. They are the same size, but broken up into different parts. And in 3/4, we can see how much space that actually takes up, as we can with 3/6. Now, when you look at these two shapes, which one is showing more of the shaded space, more red? The 3/4, right? 3/4 is clearly showing us that more of that shape is being shaded or is being red. Another way to think about it is this. Let's look at a fraction 2/8 and 2/3. And let's assume one whole shape is the size of that fraction bar we see on the top. So if I were to draw a fraction that had 8 equal parts that were the same size as that one whole, and 2/8 were shaded, we could see that much is shaded. And if I take the same model, draw it out the same length, and we break it into 3 parts, 3 equal parts, we can see 2/3 of that is being shaded. And by looking at those, if you were to compare that, what do you think is the larger fraction, 2/3 or 2/8? Hopefully we said 2/8 is less than 2/3 or 2/3 is greater than 2/8. So what you really want to remember is when you see fractions with the same numerator but different denominator, the larger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. We're going to try one more before we watch a video. All right, we have 2/6 and 2/2. So I made my model. They're both the same size, but you see I didn't color them in for you yet. You would have to draw that. Sometimes you have to draw that out on your own. And if I color in 2/6, we see it takes up this much space, and 2/2 take up this space. So which fraction clearly is the larger fraction or the greater fraction? Right, 2/2. We also should know that 2/2 equals one whole at this point. So there's going to be a link in this right here that you could always click, but there's also another video to explain fractions with like numerators on the next video. And then there'll be some student work to follow as well. Pay attention to the video, and I will see you tomorrow for some additional practice. All right, guys, keep being good, keep working on your stuff, and you guys can get this. Fractions are a piece of cake as long as you pay attention to your vocabulary. All right, guys, take care.